Hey everybody, welcome to a new month. I hope April went well for you. And this week I wanted to do my videos a bit differently because I want to talk about different opportunities that I have been part of that have helped me grow in my career as a fashion designer. I wouldn't necessarily talk about my brand, but for me, the opportunities have helped me gain more knowledge about the fashion industry, learn more about the fashion industry, help me even have content for these videos, because a lot of what I share in these videos are what I have learned over the years. I will not lie to you, a lot of this information are not things you will get in fashion school. I'm sorry. Fashion school here is very limited in the information. They really focus more on teaching you how to make things, but there are very many other things you learn when you network with different opportunities in fashion. So I'm going to share a lot more about that in this month's videos. Today specifically, I'm going to talk about the opportunities I've been part of that have really helped me, and maybe I'll just explain a bit more on how they've helped me. And then next week I will share a factory tour. I managed to go for the Vivo workshop when they were launching their Audacis. There's a program called Audacis. They wanted to share with the local designers about that program. It is a production program that helps you basically work more efficiently with your production process. I will share that. I have footage of the factory and all that. And then the last 3 weeks I will focus more on my experience in the US as a Mandela Washington Fellow. I will do it in 3 parts because I think it's a needed resource, because it's a program that's still ongoing and a lot of people still apply for it, and some people just don't apply for it at all because they don't think it's beneficial. But just as you will see today, there are very many opportunities I apply for that are not even fashion specific, but I have really benefited from them, because you never know who you meet in these programs and how you will benefit from them. So I guess we begin, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Hey, so we're going to begin with fashion shows. So fashion shows are a bittersweet for a lot of Kenyan designers, I would say that, because depending on who's organizing it, their motives for having the show could vary. My very first professional fashion show was at the Reds Africa Fashion Design Awards, because I was a finalist in it, and it was very professionally done. And even we had makeup consults, hair consults, production was done at a very high standard. We were using professional models that I would never even afford to hire and all that. So it was very well done, and it was even documented on DSTV, which is a paid media platform and all that. So it was very well done. It had the top-notch people in the industry. It was very good for networking as well. I can't say that I really benefited so much from the aftermath of doing that, but it really helped me meet different people in the industry. And you know, when you're just straight out of college, you're always just thinking internship opportunity or employment opportunity. Either way, I made friends that some of them I'm still in touch with till now, and it also elevated my standard of thinking in terms of what a show production should be like. Unfortunately, that hasn't been my experience in other shows that I have done, and some of them were only beneficial in terms of meeting people, but not necessarily beneficial for my brand, because maybe of how they were organized or how it was covered, or just generally how it all went down. But I would definitely still encourage people to do fashion shows, because it's still part of marketing and it does work differently for different people. Just make sure that there is something you gain from being in the show, whether it is specific networks who will come and buy your clothes, because you don't necessarily make sales during the day of the show. Media coverage can also help you one way or another, network with different people in the industry and things like that. It could also just be an opportunity for you to invite your clients to come and have a nice come and enjoy an event where you're showcasing and all that. It really depends on the charges. Sometimes I wish event organizers would be a bit more flexible in terms of how much they charge audiences. But anyway, it all depends on how how much the event costs have been covered. And after showcasing an event myself, creating an event called Dress Up Kenya in 2010, I know that there's a lot that goes on to creating events. So would I do fashion shows right now? Right now I would probably spend my money more on a social media campaign than I would a fashion show, because I feel like it will get more traction. And sometimes the production is almost just as big as participating in a fashion show. But I guess it just depends on you as a designer, and where your brand is going and what you're doing. Of course, there's some fashion shows that are worth participating in because of just the benefits you get from them. So definitely just take it on a case-by-case basis. Have a checklist of things you would ask an event organizer in terms of what they're covering, what they're doing, what benefits you're getting, and all that. And also talk to people who participated in before and figure out how beneficial it was for them, because it's really expensive. As much as organizers just think designers are only paying to participate, you have to make clothes. Most of the time you don't make less than 10 outfits, and then you have to think about transport, think about fittings. There's a lot. And also just think about what you're going to do with those clothes after, because most of the time the models that are hired are smaller than your regular clients, and sometimes you're just left with a lot of clothes that you have nothing to do with. So think wisely about participating in fashion shows. I still recommend doing fashion shows because it also helps you think more creatively, and you would push yourself more because you are basically sharing the limelight with other designers. So you would definitely push a bit more in terms of creativity, because you also want to stand out. So that's my tip for fashion shows. So next is competitions. So I've been part of several different competitions, and they've all benefited me in one way or another. The very first one, as I'd mentioned, is the Red Africa Fashion Designer Awards, where we were supposed to make something, an outfit to do with nature and all that, and I did mine as a volcano and all that. So I didn't really get professional photos from that. I just had a few photos that they had given us, but it was a very interesting competition, because on top of everything they outsourced. We didn't make the clothes ourselves. It was outsourced to a production company that was there at the time, and we were working hand in hand with people who were making our clothes. It's very, very interesting delegating a creative idea to somebody else to make the outfit for you. It was a very interesting and good experience. I also learned early on that I'm very good at teamwork. So anyway, generally I have been part of various competitions. A lot of the competitions right now really focus more on brand identity, especially with sustainability in mind. So there are people who are doing more unique things in that aspect, so I have not really benefited from competitions like that right now. The last competition I did in 2020, the Foundations Revealed competition. It's an international competition, and it attracts a lot of people who are in costume design, and it was my first time, and I actually got a wild card prize, and yeah, I was really happy. I really didn't even think I was going to get anything, but it really did challenge me and my thinking, and I love that it was a creative competition. As much as the prize isn't necessarily a lot of money or things like that, I just like being part of that community because it really pushes my creativity, and also you get to network with all sorts of makers from all over the world. So the next thing, of course, I'll speak about are speaking engagements that I have gotten. I have gotten several speaking engagements over the years. A lot of them are free because I just like talking to people about the fashion industry, educating people about how to get involved in the fashion industry, because I think people just think about it, especially here, they think about it in terms of That's how they're going to get their clothes done. And if Kenyans can really make the complicated clothes they see on the internet, that's not what fashion is about. Fashion is also not a course that's just for people who didn't pass their exams, because that's also another perception we have here in Kenya. So I do go to a lot of speaking engagements because I want people to understand that there is more to fashion than just your local tailor making clothes and not meeting deadlines. I also have had paid speaking engagements, so it really just depends on the opportunities I get. And of course, I also share so much information on YouTube so that you can also be educated, and it's of course free. So also please remember to subscribe and leave a comment if you found generally my content very helpful. I am hoping you found it helpful. And also share it with people. There are so many times I meet people and they're like, you know so much about fashion, and I always tell them about my channel and everything like that, but I also find that there are many people who've been benefiting from my channel and have not been sharing it with other people in the industry. And I think that this information is generally helpful because we need to grow this industry. We need more people to know about what we're doing, and we also need not to be doing the same thing. If you've noticed and you've been in the industry for a while, you realize that we all have kind of the same path we're following. We're all doing kind of the same things. We should reach a point where people are specializing so much that if I know someone who does jeans and someone comes to me for jeans, I just tell them I have a friend who really is very good at doing jeans, and it's better for you to give them the work. And I do that a lot. But I don't know, there's just something sometimes about the industry where you want credit for everything, whether or not you did it, and it's not really a very helpful way to think about the way forward. So yes, I do a lot of speaking engagements, and hopefully in the near future I will be creating opportunities where I invite people when I am doing a speaking engagement, not just waiting to be invited. So look out for those opportunities. And the next point now. So the other thing I would mention is media publications, and that could be print or digital. I don't know, some of those things I think are even the same. Anyway, I would advise that you don't just focus on getting into the big newspapers, the national newspapers. There are very many other smaller blogs and vlogs and YouTube channels and all that you could be featured in. They all help and they all count for something, because when you Google and you find your name, you will appear in all sorts of interviews and all that. And I have done that for several people. Generally I agree to most of them. I don't know, I always just like helping out people. So do that, and you will also realize that the more you are featured, the more you really have to start thinking if your work is very repetitive. And it will also help people put you in a specific space. You will be known for something very, very specific. Example, I got a feature in the .vele.com for my Kanga clothes. They actually asked me specifically to give them my Kanga clothes, because at that time I really didn't think that people really noticed that I used Kanga a lot, or I didn't really know that I was known for making clothes with Kanga. And the more I thought about it, I realized that maybe this could be the specific thing that I put out in terms of for my ready-to-wear collection. And you'll realize that sometimes your public perception of you and your brand can also help you figure out what direction you want to go with your brand. So I hope that kind of helps you. Yeah, because you will actually realize you're known for something because you actually do that thing very, very well. And sometimes you get so stuck in knowing how to do everything well, and the truth is that that's never really the case. So think about that. Also, how you want to be featured in the newspaper so that your story is smooth sailing and makes sense for you and for the public. And also remember to have a press release with your brand identity and all that. I tell you, when writing that press release is probably what's going to help you really narrow down on what you do. Having a press release also helps the journalist be able to give your story more structure and in line with what you want people to say about your brand. So I hope that's been helpful. Lastly, I will mention programs, workshops, and things like that I have done. And I always attend different workshops, and because most of the time that is our networking opportunity, most of the time they are sector specific, so I get to meet more people who are in the fashion industry that I didn't know before. And because I actually attend different types of workshops, then I meet all sorts of diverse people. I also have attended some that are not industry specific, so that I could also meet people who may be potential clients and things like that. So I don't only do it physically, but there are also a lot of WhatsApp groups. A lot of these physical engagements end up having some sort of WhatsApp groups and things like that. I also do short courses online. There are platforms like SheTrades that have been very essential in doing small courses, very short courses on their platform. You get a certificate. It's not an academic certificate, but at least you gain knowledge through the short courses you do. And they are very flexible in how long they allow you to do it, so it's actually possible to do them. And they don't necessarily focus on making things, because SheTrades is more about export. You learn a lot about exporting things to different countries, so definitely check that out. I also have done incubators, like I was part of the Matric incubator that was for 1 year. That was really beneficial. I think my highlight was definitely the factory visits and the workshop visits, the places we visited that you never have access to when you try to go on your own. But because of the people who are running the program, it really opened doors. And another highlight, of course, is my Mandela Washington Fellowship, which I will share more about later this month. I think it's wiser if I just share it much later than add it to this video, which will make it longer. So definitely do that. Synapse was also very beneficial because it was an entrepreneurship course. We met once a week, and our assignment was basically working on your business. So it was very practical, despite the fact that there were people from different industries in the course. You also learn a lot. You get public perception about what people think about your industry. You get feedback from people, because those are potentially your customers, and they will give you information that you never thought about than if you were just around people who are in your industry. So do a lot of those workshops, courses. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for, some of them have scholarships, some of them take long, some of them are short. So always look for those kind of opportunities as well. I hope this has been helpful and you've learned something, and now that you are going to you're going to come up with an action plan on what you want to do and to grow in your career. Please don't just sit in your workshop and make clothes all day, and then 10 years from now you realize that you don't know many people in the industry, you barely are growing in your networks, and you're stuck in doing things that maybe are even out of fashion. From someone who's been in the fashion industry since 2008, it's been very beneficial to meet other people, network with other people, know what's going on in the industry, be part of programs and workshops and all that. It's exhausting sometimes to always feel like you need to keep up, but it's really, it's just what you need to do if you really want to grow. Because I've also seen people who have been in the industry for a long time who had not done any of those programs, but are now doing them. So it's also never too late. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry, it's never too late to learn something new, to be part of something new, to meet people who are coming up in the industry and everything like that, and also to collaborate with each other. So I hope I'll see you next week when I show you the factory tour. I hope the footage will make sense, but let's meet next week as I give you a tour of the Vivo factory from the footage I got, and explain a bit more about the Audacis program from what I remember, and the details were so many. So watch that video, and I guess I'll see you next week. Bye.